He didn't know that yet. A young man with silver hair calls out to the girl, telling her that she'll catch a cold if she stays there. The narration begins to explain that this encounter will be a significant one. As the concludes that this is the trigger that changes the world, she looks up and pleads for him to not get involved with her. The scene shifts to explain a game called The Magic of Bonds and the Holy, where the commoner heroine Fine uses holy magic to enroll in the Royal Magic Academy. In this school, which only accepts royalty and aristocrats, she strengthens her relationships with capture targets and ends up marrying one after defeating the last boss. It's an RPG-style game with a rags-to-riches theme, but what made it famous is that it's a depressing game. The reason for this reputation is Fine's bad ending route, which occurs if she fails to reach a certain affection level with any capture targets and starts her second year with low favor from her friends. In that scenario, her holy magic is hated as dark magic, and after vicious bullying, she is forced to drop out and disappears into the night. The game is a tearjerker, with some players even suggesting online that this depressing scenario is actually the real ending. A man introduces himself as Ash, a Japanese man who was reincarnated into the world of. He recalls that one day after he turned 10, he was looking through maps and reference books for his future dungeon delving. While reading, Ash excitedly exclaims that he wants to explore the dungeon sometime, remarking on what the monsters look like. The boy notes that while the monster's weakness is water, he somehow knows that in reality it is easier to defeat it with physical attacks. He then questions himself with a puzzled look, wondering why he knows these things. At that moment, Ash suddenly remembers playing in his past life. Drawing on his memories, he understands that he was reborn into the family, the lowest-ranked aristocrats, and as the second-born son, his position is the lowest it could be. He considers himself fortunate in a way, since he is not even a mob character. Since Ash is not an heir, he embraces his freedom to dive into dungeons as much as he likes. However, he notes that there are some differences from the game he remembers. Ash realizes that his character, Ash, doesn't actually exist in the world of. He also recalls that there is one major problem. For the life of him, Ash cannot remember the most important thing, which is what the heroine looks like. He wonders what route the world is currently following. Ash even begins to question if the heroine, Fine, even exists in this world. Yet he knows for sure that this is the world of because he has seen the capture targets at the academy. As the rain starts pouring down harder, Ash decides to take a shortcut to the dorm. Suddenly he stops in his tracks, his eyes wide with surprise at what he sees. Huddled in an alleyway, a girl sits silently in the pouring rain, looking utterly dejected. Her clothes are torn and she clutches her arm, drenched and alone. Noticing she is a girl from his school and wondering if she's being bullied, Ash approaches and tells her that if she stays there, she'll catch a cold. She looks up at him with a weary expression and asks him to please not get involved with her. The girl insists that she likes sitting there. He lets out a frustrated sigh. Leaning down, Ash surprises her by holding out his umbrella and telling her to take it. He says she doesn't need to return it, and then runs off into the rain. The scene cuts to the large dormitory building. Now sick in bed, Ash laments that he has done it again, complaining that his immune strength never increases no matter how much he trains. He reassures himself that as long as he doesn't cause any trouble, he'll still be able to graduate even if he takes days off. A sudden knock at the door makes Ash wonder who it could be, as classes should still be on. The girl from the alley greets him as Mr. Ash, explaining that she came to return his things. Ash asks how she knows his name and room, and she reveals she found his ID card in his jacket. The girl continues, saying she considered leaving his things with a guard but came directly to his room after hearing he was inside. Feeling his cold worsen, he tells her she should leave quickly, worried that she might catch his cold. As Ash begins to fall, the girl quickly catches him and holds him steady. He looks up at her, flustered, and apologizes for his weakness. She notes that he has a fever and insists on getting him back to bed, saying his current state won't do. Now at his bedside, the girl asks if he has any cold medicine, to which he replies that he does not. She says she understands and then asks him to close his eyes, apologizing in advance for any discomfort. As a light emanates from her hands, Ash wonders what is happening, noticing that the pain in his throat and his fatigue are both easing away. After a moment, the girl gently places her hand on his forehead. She then states that his fever seems to have gone down and prepares to leave, but Ash quickly calls for her to wait, insisting he should repay her. The girl tells him that his appreciation is enough, just as she had said the day before. Suddenly, her stomach growls loudly and she looks down in embarrassment, asking if he heard that. He smiles and says he was just about to eat something, inviting her to join him. The girl immediately objects, insisting that a sick person shouldn't be cooking and that she will do it instead. A little later, she returns holding a tray and announces that the food is ready. As she sets the meal down, she mentions that she's not sure if it will taste good, but he thanks her, remarking that it looks tasty. Ash takes a spoonful and immediately exclaims that it is hella delicious. He then offers a bowl to her, telling her she should eat too, and she hesitantly asks if she really can. She accepts his offer, replying then, "Don't mind me." The girl brings a spoonful of the warm food to her lips. As she eats, tears begin to stream down her face, though she forces a small smile. A concerned Ash asks her what's the matter, and she explains that she hasn't eaten warm food in a while. This reminds him of how he found her in the back alley, and he wonders if something happened to her. They continue to eat the rest of their meal in a quiet, shared moment. After a while, Ash looks up from the now empty pot and notices how silent the room has become. He turns to find that the girl has fallen sound asleep, leaning against the couch. Ash smiles gently, observing that she seems to have been able to relax. The scene then shifts to the next day. In a sparring match, Ash deftly dodges an opponent's strike. Standing victorious with his sword, he is declared the winner, Ash. A young man with reddish-brown hair approaches him, commenting that 3 wins in a row is quite something. The friend expresses his shock that Ash could so easily defeat his opponents after being sick in bed, but Ash replies that he is in the best shape he's been in for years. He privately reflects on the truth of his friend's words, remembering how he could barely stand on his own yesterday. Since he woke up early, Ash had left a note and a key for the girl who was still sleeping, hoping she was able to take it easy. Later in the bustling cafeteria, asks Ash what he's going to eat for lunch. Then changes the subject, telling him that something big happened yesterday. He reveals that His Highness has announced his engagement, much to Ash's surprise. The scene identifies Prince as the country's second prince and one of the capture targets in. Ash asks his friend who the girl is, and replies that if he recalls correctly, her name is. A troubled expression crosses Ash's face as he wonders what is going on, since there was no character like that in the game. He asks if she is the daughter of a duke but clarifies that just like them, she is from a family of a baronet. An explanation shows that students at this academy are divided into upper and lower rank classes based on their noble ranking, making interaction between the groups almost impossible. Notes that it's surprising royalty found common ground with her, and adds that he heard she was transferred to an upper rank class as soon as the engagement was announced. He then points towards a nearby seating area, telling Ash to look over there. Is shown happily offering a boxed sandwich she packed to, who replies that of course, he will eat anything she cooks for him. Observing them, notes that the box is the cheapest one from the school cafeteria and muses that this is what people mean when they say love is blind. Later, as he and get their food, Ash looks around the cafeteria for a place to sit. He then spots the girl from the other night sitting alone at a table, relieved to see that she was able to get to school without any problems. Casually dismisses the idea when Ash asks if they should share a table. He approaches her anyway and says, "Hey," getting her attention as she looks up from her tray. Suddenly, another student confronts the girl, calling her a stupid wench and questioning how someone of her vulgar birth dares to attend their noble academy. Ash immediately recognizes the aggressors as sleeve holders. An explanation reveals that only upper-rank students are allowed to wear sleeve holders, and they refer to lower-rank students as sleeveless. The bully continues his verbal assault, calling her a damn witch and demanding that people like her disappear quickly. Enraged at being ignored, he draws his sword and threatens to show her that there is no place for her at the academy. Just as the blade comes down, Ash intervenes, blocking the attack with his own sword and shielding the shocked girl. The bully calls Ash an asshole and asks if he understands what he's doing, to which Ash replies that he's defending a girl from a lowlife. In a swift motion, he calls them bastards as he skillfully disarms the bully and his companion. The bully's sword clatters to the ground as he is disarmed. Ash then swiftly knees the stunned student in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Standing over the collapsed figure, he remarks that he feels great now, just as he knew he would. A crowd of students has gathered, murmuring about the fight and the quarrel between a sleeveless and a sleeve holder. Approaches, telling Ash but his friend quickly apologizes and says he'll leave the rest to him. Without another word, Ash suddenly scoops the surprised girl into his arms. As he carries her away, an exasperated yells after them that he'll be expecting a proper explanation tomorrow. The scene shifts to a quiet street outside the academy building. Flustered, the girl asks if he could please put her down, and a slightly embarrassed Ash apologizes and does so. Once standing, she looks at him and asks why he went to such lengths for her. He looks away thoughtfully and replies that he just couldn't leave her alone. She looks down with a slight blush and quietly responds, "Is that so?" Ash then points out that they are standing out in their uniforms and suggests they go to his nearby mansion, which is close by. He opens the door to an incredibly cluttered room, announcing they are here, and she agrees to enter. The girl stares in utter shock at the chaotic state of the room. She wonders aloud what could have happened and where the servants are, to which Ash clarifies that, in short, they don't have anyone there. He internally complains that the messy situation is purely because it's a pain to sell all his dungeon loot. The girl suddenly turns to him and asks where the cleaning tools are kept, surprising him. She declares with conviction that they need to clean the house, worried that he might get sick if he stays there too long. He tells her that he usually lives in the dorm, but she presses him, asking what he would do if he were unable to. He thinks for a moment before telling her that the cleaning supplies are likely stored in the back room. Now wearing an apron, the girl cheerfully announces that it's time to start cleaning, reassuring Ash that there are no problems and they should finish quickly. Looking at the disarray of his belongings, he grimly thinks to himself that while the situation is pitiful, it is his own fault. As they begin to tidy up, Ash wonders why the sleeve holders dislike her so much, especially since he can see that she is one of them. He continues to watch her from a short distance as she works. As the girl climbs a stepladder to clean a high shelf, Ash notices that he can see her panties clear as day and internally debates whether he should point it out. Suddenly, he sees a large bookshelf start to topple over behind her and yells for her to look out. Ash rushes forward and pushes the girl to safety, shielding her with his body as the bookshelf crashes down behind them. She timidly thanks him very much, but he insists it was due to his inattentiveness and asks if she is okay. The girl asks if he is all right since he protected her and states that since he did so, she will do the same before going to check if anything else fell. Realizing he is still holding her on the floor, the girl shyly asks if he could please let go of her now. He quickly apologizes again, but she admits that she also wasn't paying attention, though Ash insists there is still something he has to say. Ash confesses that he got an eyeful of her panties a moment ago, prompting her to blush furiously and demand to know why he didn't say anything earlier. After they finish their work, the once cluttered room is now sparkling clean, with one of them remarking how different it looks. She sternly instructs him to clean the place frequently from now on, but Ash cheekily changes the subject by asking what's for dinner. The girl thinks to herself that it's clear he deliberately changed the topic, while he simply stands there with a knowing smile. She then asks if she can borrow the shower, and while Ash agrees, he questions if she's okay with it since it's a man's home. The girl retorts that after being princess-carried and having her panties ogled, it's past the point of worrying, causing him to apologize again. Despite her words, she clenches her fist, a deep blush spreading across her face as she tries to hide her embarrassment. She then breaks into a bright smile, asking him to forgive her for teasing and admitting that she really doesn't mind at all. When Fine announces she is going to take a shower, Ash has a moment of sudden, shocked realization. He finally remembers everything, realizing with a start that she is the game's heroine, Fine. Ash pieces things together, believing that it was the holy magic which only Fine can use that healed his cold in the blink of an eye. He then deduces that she was treated so horribly by the upper-rank students because her holy magic is already being condemned as dark magic in this world. This terrifying realization leads Ash to question if the world he's in is currently heading straight for the bad ending route. The narration explains that the bad ending route in is different from those in other games, making him wonder if they are already in the middle of it. Unlike other games, the credits don't begin to roll upon reaching this ending. Instead, the player must endure hate, abuse, and vilification from every character until the common route concludes. Furthermore, if a player tries to delete their progress midway through this route, all unlocked content, acquired items, and status upgrades will be permanently lost. Because of this punishing mechanic, players are forced to keep playing whether they like it or not, enduring the painful experience alongside the heroine, which is why is known as an. As Fine emerges from the room, Ash leans against the wall with a grim expression, concluding that they are right in the middle of that dreaded route now. Fine thanks Ash for letting her use the shower, but he dismisses it, telling her not to worry about it. He then directly asks if he is correct in presuming she is fine. She looks down with a slight sad smile, asking if he was aware of who she was then. He quickly lies, claiming he heard that a commoner girl with amazing magical abilities had enrolled in the upper-rank aristocracy class during his first year. Ash inwardly thinks that the rumors about her probably stopped immediately because she entered the bad ending route and apologizes to himself for being insensitive. Fine smiles brightly and tells him not to worry about it. She then adds that she should be the one apologizing for hiding her name from him, but he insists that he is actually fine with that. A bead of sweat rolls down his face as he realizes his poor choice of words, thinking to himself that now he's done it. He hadn't meant for her to look so forlorn, seeing the sadness in her eyes at his unintentional pun. Trying to move past the awkward moment, Ash tells her it's late and that she can stay at his house for the night, an offer she gladly accepts. The next morning, Ash opens the door to the guest room and wishes Fine a good morning, only to find the room empty. He discovers a note she left behind, apologizing for hiding her identity and causing inconvenience, stating her intention to leave immediately. Ash slams his hand on the table in frustration, wondering why he couldn't predict how she would act in her current state. He recalls her sad face in the rain and realizes he has already decided that he cannot stand by and watch her suffer through this bad ending route again and again. Remembering her bright smile from the night before, Ash resolves that he doesn't want to see or do anything that would cause her to lose that smile again. Rushing out, he finds a large crowd gathered outside the academy and wonders what's going on, knowing he needs to find Fine as soon as possible. From within the crowd, a haughty voice remarks that it seems commoners can't keep track of their own actions. Pushing through the students, Ash is shocked to see Fine standing with His Highness and the other capture targets. The other young men are identified as David Venus, son of the Minister of Finance, Recon, an extraordinary genius magician, and Eugene, a peerless spearman. Together, they are the quartet of the most influential handsome guys in, also known as the Four Knights. Standing beside Prince, protectively holds onto his arm as she wonders what that woman, Fine, is doing there. Accuses Fine of not only threatening her but also trying to use wicked magic on all of them, declaring she will never approve of such a vile witch attending the academy. The capture targets join in, calling Fine a damn witch and accusing her of shameless lies and stealing possessions, declaring that people who hold others in contempt are not needed at the academy. Prince, however, defends Fine, exclaiming that it's absolutely impossible for a kind girl who healed all of them to be a villainess. The crowd of onlookers gasps in shock at the prince's defense of Fine. Pushing his way through the stunned students, Ash declares the situation a cheap farce and decides he needs to act more forcefully to put an end to it. He stands resolute, his gaze fixed on the unfolding drama. As Eugene pressures Fine to admit to her supposed wrongdoings, a sudden downpour of rain interrupts him. The capture targets are thrown into confusion by the sudden rain, with calling for it to take cover in the school building while someone calls out for Fine. Ash seizes the opportunity, grabbing a surprised Fine by the hand and telling her to come with him. Standing inside, sheltered from the downpour, Ash grimaces and notes that it won't stop raining. Fine looks down at their still clasped hands and quietly asks why he saved her back there. He looks at her and replies that, as he said before, he can't leave her alone. Ash adds that right now she is nearly heading toward her own destruction, to which she somberly replies, "Is that so?" He then suggests they do something about their soaked clothes, but Fine tells him there's no need to do anything. In an instant, her wet clothes and hair become completely dry, an effect she calls a blessing. Ash asks if this was the magic he had heard rumors about, and she confirms that it is a holy magic called blessing, which cleanses the body of impurities and supposedly only she can use. He gently takes her hands and asks if this magic has anything to do with her being bullied and with the girl. Ash continues, acknowledging that it's a lot to ask, but for the sake of improving the current situation, he needs her to tell him what has happened to her so far. After a moment of silence, Fine looks up at him and agrees, saying she understands. Fine begins her story, explaining that it's a long one and asking if he minds, to which Ash replies that it's all right. She recounts that for as long as she can remember, she has possessed a wondrous power, the ability to heal any wound or sickness immediately. Her caretaker mother told her that she didn't need to know anything about the origins of her power. The nun also strictly forbade her from using that power without her permission, a rule to which a young Fine agreed. Thus, she could only use her power when Mother gave her permission, typically for wounds so severe that they couldn't be healed with a potion. Fine describes those as peaceful days, living in an orphanage on the frontier. However, 3 years ago, while picking herbs in the mountains, she encountered a badly wounded person and, breaking Mother's teachings, decided to heal him right away. Despite being surprised by her power, the young man asked her many questions, wanting to repay her, but she humbly replied that she just did what anyone else would have. Her answer only seemed to pique his interest more, as he told her he was getting more and more interested in her before they began their descent down the mountain. A year later, an official arrived with a scroll announcing that under a preferential measure, Miss Fine was allowed to enroll in the Royal Magic Academy. Believing she would be able to save many people, Fine decided to accept the enrollment, eagerly stating that she would absolutely love to be a student. However, as it was an academy for nobles only, she, a commoner, was seen as an oddity by the other students. The only person who would talk to her who approached her with a friendly smile and introduced herself. Fine explains that their friendship developed quickly, to the point where she felt comfortable enough to tell about the special power she possessed. By the time she realized it, Fine had already started living according to his decisions, readily agreeing to her suggestions. She reflects that she couldn't have imagined what was happening while she wasn't looking. Began spreading imaginary rumors about her, tearfully telling others that Fine was threatening her with wicked magic. She also started using an excessive amount of potions to heal the wounds and injuries of Prince and his friends, ailments that Fine could have easily fixed herself. By the time Fine grasped the situation she was in, it was too late. She was already being labeled a villainess, a witch, and a tramp. The final blow came during outdoor combat practice when she cast defensive protection on people who weren't accustomed to fighting monsters. The capture targets furiously accused her of trying to kill them with defensive protection, calling her power sickening and forbidding her from ever using it in front of them again. Fine recalls that sometime after that incident, she was once again confronted and called a damn witch. Prince, flanked by and the other capture targets, told her that he could no longer allow her endless acts of barbarity and would have her expelled from the academy. A shocked Fine tried to defend herself, stammering that she hadn't done anything wrong. Her denial was met with a cruel threat to destroy the orphanage where she grew up if she insisted on pretending. She remembers how her desperate pleas fell on deaf ears, and she was ordered to leave the academy immediately. Fine explains that when she came to her senses, she found herself sitting alone in a back alley, crying. And yet she concludes her story by saying he was the one who called out to her there. Back in the present, Ash listens intently and thanks her for telling him what happened. He reflects internally that everything unfolded just as it did in the game. The person she saved was Crown Prince Elsa's, and Mother was trying to avert the fate of a saint placed on Fine's shoulders. Ash concludes that this means the problem is. He deduces that since the game begins after Fine has healed the capture targets and made them interested in her, must have controlled Fine's actions and taken her position by imitating holy magic with potions. Ash realizes that such a scheme would be impossible unless someone was fully informed about the world of. In conclusion, he thinks to himself with a thoughtful expression, it is quite likely that she is a. Fine bows deeply, thanking him very much for saving her time and time again. She then turns to leave, explaining that she doesn't want to cause him any more problems and will be on her way. Ash stops her, asking if she is truly content to remain defeated by and her gang. He continues to press her, asking if she really wants to run away pathetically with her tail between her legs. Fine clenches her fists, tears welling in her eyes as she retorts that there's no way she wants to do that, but she has no means to prove her innocence or protect the orphanage. Smiling confidently, Ash assures her that in that case he will help her triumph over them all. Fine asks Ash if she can trust him, and he confidently tells her to believe in him and follow his lead as the narration declares that the brilliant attack starts now. With newfound determination in her eyes, Fine pleads for him to help her win. Ash looks at her with a resolute expression and promises to free her from the sad humiliation she has endured. The scene shifts to the academy building. Greets Ash in the classroom, noting it has been 2 days, and Ash apologizes for the trouble he caused. Ash notices other students whispering and avoiding him and points out that it's because he picked a fight with the sleeve holder kids, causing a big commotion. Mentions that school was canceled the previous day due to a sudden downpour, which Ash finds strange for the season, realizing they don't know he was the cause. He reflects that after everything that happened, letting Fine rest at his house was the right decision, as he also wanted to gather information on his own. Casually mentions that is always in the central garden every day, and Ash asks if she's always there. Confirms this, adding that she flirts with the 4 nights every day and that her engagement is rumored to be a double engagement. Ash thinks to himself, so that's how it is. He remembers that in the game there's a special reverse harem route where the heroine can become engaged to all 4 capture targets at once, and he realizes that must be on that route now. Ash becomes certain that has knowledge of the game, and now all that's left is to confirm whether or not she is actually like him. He recalls that the homemade sandwiches she offers are just from the canteen and tells he's interested in her because she is the center of gossip. Just as he suspected, Ash finds in the school cafeteria. While she is complaining to herself about the limited sandwich selection, he approaches and asks if she is Miss. She confirms her identity with a smile, and he congratulates her on her engagement to the second prince. Thanks him, and Ash tests her by asking if the heavy rain from yesterday was meant to celebrate the occasion. She knowingly replies, "So you got caught," prompting Ash to feign an apology and claim his magic practice went out of control. With a smirk, drops her act, asking why from her point of view it looked like he was protecting that bitch Fine. Ash feigns admiration, telling that it's no wonder she's engaged to Prince and calling her the hope of all the sleeveless students. He continues his flattery, saying that many people are calling her a modern-day Cinderella or princess. The mention of Cinderella seems to catch her off guard for a moment. However, quickly recovers with a smug smile, saying how nice it is to be called that. Ash then asks how she managed to get so close to the nobles, and she cryptically replies that it's probably because someone kind showed her an example beforehand. When he asks what she means by an example, dismisses his question, telling him it's something he wouldn't be able to understand. He then changes the topic, asking if she knows anything about the bullying of the commoner student Fine, which seems to surprise her. Puts on a convincing act of distress, claiming that Fine was jealous of her relationship with the nobles and spread vicious rumors about her. She continues her facade, saying that while it was very hard on her, she is fine now. As Fine walks away in the background, confidently states that after Prince speaks with the head of the academy, Fine will receive her letter of resignation tomorrow and be expelled. Ash apologizes for taking up her time and says he supports her love story, to which replies that it's no problem and thanks him for his support. With a final, chilling smile from in the background, Ash internally confirms with certainty that she is a. He reasons that concepts like Cinderella and princess do not exist in this world. If were truly someone born in this world, she would have questioned those references, but she knew what they meant. Ash concludes that her previous example must refer to the main plot of the game, and with enough information gathered, it's now time to fight. Back at his mansion, Fine is horrified to learn that she is being forcibly expelled. She asks in disbelief if would really do something like that, and Ash solemnly confirms that she would. He lays out his plan. They will appeal the resignation letter on the grounds of slander and prove her innocence through a duel. In this country, an unfair decision can be overturned by a duel that puts everything on the line, which is why it is highly respected, and even nobles and royalty would lose their honor if they refused one. Fine hesitates, pointing out that her opponents are all people with officially recognized abilities and questions how they could possibly win. Ash tells Fine that of course he has no intention of letting her fight alone, but she will have to work extraordinarily hard. He looks her in the eye and asks if she is ready, to which she replies with determination that she is, if it's something she can do. Ash smiles, saying good, and begins to explain his plan for Fine. After their discussion, he tells her they will proceed with the plan tomorrow, and she agrees. The next day, Fine confronts the capture targets and who mockingly asks if she still hasn't learned her lesson. As Eugene angrily asks what the hell is this, Prince quiets him. Recon steps forward, accusing Fine of endangering students with her wicked magic and continuously slandering, claiming that someone like her will only tarnish the good name of the Royal Magic Academy. He concludes by stating that for these reasons, they have decided to forcibly expel her. Fine clenches her fist, asking if that is truly the reason they are expelling her, and Recon confirms that it is. With newfound resolve, Fine declares that she will prove their reasons are slander, and to do so, she challenges the nobles to a duel. Prince scoffs at Fine's challenge, questioning how she thinks she can win against the top-ranked students, but Ash steps forward to interrupt. He confidently announces that he will be Fine's partner in the duel. The capture targets ask who he is, and Ash introduces himself as Ash, the second son of the family, a low-ranking noble house. Recon asks if he understands what it means to participate in the duel, to which Ash replies with a smirk that of course he does. Proposes that the duel will be between the four of them and the two of them, a condition to which Fine hesitantly starts to agree. Ash, however, taunts them by asking if four will be enough, suggesting that it would be better if Miss joined the fight as well. An enraged Prince furiously rejects the idea, declaring that they will not allow to face bastards like them. Ash calmly states their demands for victory, withdraw the malicious slander and the resignation letter, apologize to Fine, and never hurt her or anyone associated with her again. Prince counters with their demand to expel Ash and Fine from the country as they don't want to see trash like them. He agrees to the terms but adds a final warning, asking if they are sure because if they lose, he and Fine will mercilessly expel them from the country instead. Ash turns to Fine and asks if she agrees to the terms, and she confirms, stating that they have no intention of losing from the start. Bites her finger in frustration, annoyed that the situation has escalated this far. As a small mercy, Prince allows them to have input on the duel's timing, and Ash suggests 1 week from now. The prince agrees, setting the duel for 1 week at the Academy Coliseum and vowing to crush them until nothing is left. After the others have gone, a nervous Fine asks Ash if he is sure about this, and he confidently replies that he is. She agrees to his plan, and as they shake hands, Ash declares that they will make all the preparations they can within the week.